I want to talk about leadership for a moment. It's there's a lot of things that go into leadership. There's some things that make you a leader, that you're sufficient at your role. There's things that make people great leaders. There's things that make people really poor leaders. The absolute worst kind of leader, they're not a leader at all. They're just a boss or manager. And a lot of those really poor bosses are the ones who will lie about their employees in order to make themselves look better. They try to make it look like everybody around them is an incompetent boob so that people believe that that manager or that boss or that leader is a hero at the end of the day when things come around. I'm seeing a lot of that kind of quote unquote leadership here lately. I'm going to tell you a little story from my own past. It's not the type of thing I like to do, but I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit because I'm proud of this story. So, right before the Iraq War started in 2003, so the year prior to that, I had been stationed down at Fort Bragg. I'd come home. I was in the Army. I was a Sergeant E5 at the time, and I decided that I was going to go to officer candidate school. I was going to become a lieutenant. I thought at the time that I was going to be a career military person. I figured if I was going to be in the military for a career, I might as well go ahead and get my commission. Because I, at the time, believed I was good at what I did. Thought that I belonged in charge of people. I thought that getting the commission route was going to be a good thing for someone like me. So what happened was, I was in a platoon. I was in the first squad. I had a team leader that I knew and that I trusted. I had a team that I knew and that I trusted. And I gave that all up so I could be put into a list to go to officer candidate school. Well, the thing that happened was my unit got called up to go to Iraq. And I was given the choice to continue on that path to go to officer candidate school because that was a career move and yada, yada, yada. That's kind of how the Army works. Or go back to my unit. I decided I wanted to go back to my unit because I didn't want them going to Iraq without me. So I went back to my unit. The problem was someone had already taken over my old team. They were put in my spot in my old squad. So I got tacked on to the fourth squad, or third squad at the time, with all the replacements. So all these guys that were new, fresh out of basic, or that came from other units that nobody knew, they all got thrown into the third squad. I had a squad leader I'd never met before, who frankly I didn't like. Up until the day he died, we didn't get along. I had a machine gunner who I had never met before, and I had a driver who I had a history with, to say the least. Me and Tom had a history of not getting along. Let's just put it that way. Me and him were not friends. I had in the past been known to stand outside a door while he was using the bathroom to wait for him to come out just so I could scream at him. That was the relationship that Tom and I had. He didn't have a reputation at that time in his life for being a good soldier. I remember taking the platoon roster over to where he was sitting one day when I found out that I was going to be in charge of him. I stood over him and I said, "Hey, do you believe in God?" He looked at me, he was like, "Why?" I said, "No, just answer the question. Do you believe in God?" He said, "Yeah, fine." I slammed the paper down on the table and I said, "Well, you better start praying to him." He saw that I was his team leader. His head rolled back and it was a mess. But anyway, I knew that I was going to go into combat with this guy that I had a bad relationship with in the past and that had a reputation for not being the best soldier in the world. I made the decision that day that I was going to do everything I could to make sure he was the best soldier, because I wasn't going to die in combat because I had a soldier under me who was not adequate. So we worked our asses off, and he also had a reputation for not being the best shape in the world. I remember when we were in Kuwait waiting to move up to Baghdad, we would all put on our rucks and march around this camp. I mean, I call it a camp. It's pretty big for people that don't understand. Anyway, we're in Kuwait in the middle of the desert where there's freaking sand everywhere. And being the third squad, we'd be the third ones to march on the marching order or whatever. When we got back to around the starting point, maybe we had a quarter mile to go, I ordered my guys, I didn't order them, but I said, hey, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna run it in the rest of the way. So we passed the other squads and we got back first. It wasn't a race, but I wanted to say, hey, look, we're gonna finish strong, that's who we are. We went through that year-long deployment, and we became very good friends. I'm very proud of the soldier that Tom became. And as far as I know, he's still in the Army. He outlasted me. But, I had a choice. I had a choice that if I had someone who I thought was subpar, I could constantly rag on him, beat on him, terrify him, get him to quit, make sure that he never made the trip. Or I could bring him up, say, hey, look, you've been subpar in the past, but I want you to be great, so I'm going to help you get there. Those are the two kinds of leaders. There's one kind of leader that's going to bring you down, one kind of leader that's going to help raise you up. I saw something today from someone who is supposed to be a leader, and he chose to take the path where he doesn't like the people that are below him, and he's going to do nothing but step on them, try to bring them down. The problem is, the stuff that he's saying is easy to disprove. I have a responsibility to try to make sure that stuff comes to light. That's what I'm going to do. Because I think everybody deserves to have the right kind of leader, and I think it's important that you expose bad leadership when you have the opportunity. So that's what I've been thinking about today.